You know, there's a fellow running in a very crowded primary in Texas for the Republican nomination to be a congressman from Texas. And I happen to know this gentleman for some time. He is a conservative's conservative. He served as Ted Cruz's chief of staff. And more than that, he is a very decent, principled man, and his name is Chip Roy. Chip, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be on.
Tell us about the district. Tell us how many candidates are running. Tell us when the election is.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. It's the 21st Congressional District here in Texas. Stretches between Austin and San Antonio and out into the hill country of Texas, right in the center. And we have 18 candidates running, which is an extraordinary number. Although as a student of history, you might appreciate that when John Tower ran for the Senate in 1961, there were 71 candidates. So
oh, Lord.
18 seems manageable, but it's a very crowded field. But we're doing great, Mark. And look, you had me on the first night that I announced my candidacy in December. And thanks to so many of your listeners who gave from across the country and throughout Texas to my campaign, we were able to outraise all of my 17 opponents in the fourth quarter in December. And I can't thank you enough and your listeners enough, and would encourage them to continue to help support the campaign because we need it, and we're marching strong right now.
Well, what are the big 2 or 3 issues that you see out there right now?
Well, I mean, look, the things that I'm talking to the people in this district about that they care about every single day, Obamacare, spending, and then particularly open borders with no resolve in Washington to do anything about it. And when I talk to them about the fight in my time in Washington, D.C., and they recognize that I'm endorsed by Ted Cruz as his former chief of staff, by Senator Mike Lee, my good friend, and somebody I worked with closely in the trenches in the Senate, and the House Freedom Caucus, and Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan and the good guys in the House, as well as my other former boss, Governor Perry. And they know that I've been in the fight and been in the trenches. They respond very favorably to the campaign, and they're very excited about the idea of having one of their own to take on the establishment, frankly, on both sides of the aisle that are running the country into the ditch, as we see right now with this ridiculous deal that was struck today, massively escalating our national debt when we have no more room to go, and yet binding the hands of the president, who knows that he needs to have strong military spending. Congress is not doing their job, and we need to send reinforcements to the good guys up there to send better bills and better spending bills to the president.
And what is your website if people want to support you in the district or donate to you throughout the country?
Absolutely. It's chiproy.com, CHIPROY.com, chiproy.com. And I cannot tell you enough how much the support from people across the country, every contribution, $5, $25, $100, they mean so much. We're in a really good position to be able to send reinforcements to Washington to do the right thing and stand up against the broken establishment that is not representing the people, and really appreciate the support from your listeners.
Mr. Producer, put chiproy.com up on my social sites, chiproy.com. And, I in a race with 18 people, I may or may not get involved. But in your case, I think your election is crucial. Not just to be a congressman, and you don't need to comment on this, but one day, perhaps to be a senator or governor. I've come to know you very, very well. You spend a lot of time thinking about the issues that are important to this country. You are one of us. You are a solid conservative, which means the establishment will no doubt despise you. You're articulate, you're intelligent, and you're solid across the board. What other issues do you see out there that are important to you and important to your district?
Well, in addition to the ones that I just mentioned, and particularly how important getting our border secured and opposing an amnesty is to the people of this district, it's also the unelected bureaucrats and the judges. And, Mark, I know you've been one of the early leaders on this and how important it is to constrain Leviathan, constrain the bureaucrats. And right now, the president and, the people that he has chosen as the elected president to lead the administration and the agencies is having trouble against the so-called deep state and the bureaucrats that are in place. And, frankly, Congress has too often shirked its responsibilities. The Article I branch of government that the founders gave them the power to lead is closest to the people, to actually restrain the bureaucrats and restrain judges like that Ninth Circuit judge who completely made up the law about whether or not the president can stop people from coming in from terrorist countries. Of course he can. And it's just absurd, and Congress needs to reassert its power being closest to the people. So that's something that I think is really fundamentally important.
Do you think you would join the Freedom Caucus if you were elected?
Unapologetically and unabashedly, I very much appreciate their support and their endorsement. Not always going to agree with them, not always going to agree with anybody else who's endorsed me or support me, but I know that they're up there trying to fight for the people and try to represent those who elected them, honor their commitment to repeal Obamacare, to limit spending, and take on the establishment that is unfortunately just continuing to give us more and more spending. I think as a student of history, you'll remember that when Ronald Reagan gave his time for choosing speech in 1964, he bemoaned the $17 million a day that we were spending more than we take in. That's deficit spending. Last year, we spent $1.8 billion a day in deficit spending. And that's 54 years after his great time for choosing speech. So we've got to take on the establishment and take this country back.
Well, my God, I'm not only supporting you because you're my friend, I'm supporting you because we need you. You're a very articulate voice for our principles, and there are very few of them. So it's chiproy.com, chiproy.com. I hope Levinites out there will lend Chip a hand. That is a big damn district, isn't it?
It's quite a sizable district, an important district right in the center of Texas. It's a great district. The Texas Hill Country, it's great people, great history. And look, Mark, your listeners, they know this. They listen to you for a reason, but you're such a valuable asset for the conservative movement for this country. Thanks for all you do and the books that you've written, and really being the intellectual and thought leader of the conservative movement at a time when we desperately need it. So thank you for having me on, and really appreciate the support from your listeners. And Chip Roy, chiproy.com.
Well, you're really, really kind, and I want the nation to get to know you as I do. So God bless and good luck on the trail.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Take care.
All right. Take care of yourself. He is the real deal. I mean, he really is. There's so few. He's an excellent candidate. He's got an excellent pedigree in terms of his career, litigator. And as I said, he was chief of staff to Ted Cruz for a period of time. There's just no question about his bona fides and his principles. And you can hear how decent and articulate he is. So it's chiproy.com, chiproy.com. I strongly recommend that you use your contributions very wisely. Don't give it to the RNC or this C or that C. Pick the candidates you want to support. And when you have 18 candidates running in a Republican primary, a fellow like this, Chip Roy, who's opposed by the Republican establishment and so forth, but who is as solid as they come and as articulate and decent as they come, he can win. But he's going to need your help. That's chiproy.com.